guys, welcome to another video here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You already know what day it is. It's Sunday Funday! Unless you're not watching it on Sunday, in which case subscribe to the channel, join the community, help us on our road to 20,000, and that way you will never miss a Sunday Funday again. Now, there are still many Sundays in store between now and the time football returns, but before we look ahead to a season that may or may not happen, in the traditional fashion at least, I wanted to take one last look at 2019, and in particular my top 10 moments. Now by moments I don't just mean individual plays. There could be a collection of plays that summed up one defining moment of the Eagles season. It's a bit of a tricky rule, but we'll navigate it as we go along. Anyway, here are my top 10 favorite moments from the Eagles 2019 season. Before we get into it though guys, as always, if you could leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you enjoy this content, it will be greatly appreciated. And don't forget to get your daily dosage of Philadelphia sports coverage from myself and all of our writers at phillysportsnetwork.com. We're going to start things off with this play, arguably the only highlight of Matt Collins' 2019 season outside of being named Carson Wentz's top graded receiver, so that's good. Obviously, Hollins isn't the star here, it's Carson Wentz, who somehow evades an oncoming onslaught of obstacles, and as he's being brought to the ground by Vic Beasley, somehow gets this ball out and throws it 17 yards safely into the chest of Matt Collins. It's Houdini level stuff. It's what we have come to know and love from Carson Wentz. Now, yes, this ball security issue can bite him in the rear sometimes. This wasn't one of those occasions. In fact, it was one of his greatest plays of the entire season. Number 9 is this wheel route touchdown to Miles Sanders. I love the play design here. The Eagles are going to motion down Nelson Aguilar on a sweep. Look, this is of course going to bring attention. It's a man coverage look, which means that Miles Sanders is now matched up one-on-one with Eric Kendricks, and this was a look just too good not to take advantage of. But the throw here from Carson Wentz is simply effortless. There isn't much in the way of pressure, but he fits it in a place where only Miles Sanders can get it. And again, this is a running back on a linebacker, and Sanders' receiving ability exploded at this point in the season. And while the game was disappointing, this play just jumped out as a sign of things to come. On to number 8, and we're going to see one of Miles Sanders' most explosive touchdown runs of the year, a 65-yard dash to the end zone against the Buffalo Bills in a game that many consider a turning point for the season. This one and the win against Chicago. But just how about this play? The Eagles present a pony backfield, meaning you've got two running backs next to Carson Wentz. This obviously creates some problems for the Buffalo Bills, but they're going to use Jordan Howard as a fullback. And the block he lays onto Matt Milano here is absolutely thunderous. Howard turns into Moses and parts the Red Sea, allowing Miles Sanders to storm through it and take the pigskin to the house for a touchdown. It's not very often that special teams get love in highlights like this, but I feel like this blocked field goal against the Detroit Lions was absolutely key. A minute and 43 to go, down by 3. The defense comes up with a monumental stop and is picked up by cornerback Rasul Douglas, who drives deep into enemy territory. The Eagles then well, they don't do anything with it, which is why this isn't listed any higher on the list. But beggars can't be choosers. Let's just take some time to appreciate Dave Phipp and some great hustle from both Malcolm Jenkins and Rasul Douglas and what was truly one of the team's best and most iconic special teams play of the entire year. Our beloved Captain Craven holds the next spot in this list, and with good reason. On the first day of training camp in 2019, he suffered a foot injury that would send him to injured reserve. He would return on November 30th in this game against the New York Giants, a must-win matchup if the Eagles had any hope of making the 2019 playoffs. And in that game, he amassed 2 passes defense on a 3rd and 4th down, had a huge tackle for a loss against Saquon Barkley, and looked like the strap of old. There was no way you couldn't fall in love with this tape. I had such a blast doing this film room. The way he sheds that block, comes down and just brings Saquon Barkley to the ground. It was amazing. That was the play that saw Josh McCown sprint onto the field and try to gas him up. It was amazing. I think LeBlanc had one of his best games against the Giants. It reminded me so much of that form we saw last year, and hopefully in 2020 he can continue to compete for a starting role. Next up, as we get into the juicy plays now, it's DeSean Jackson's first touchdown in his second tenure as an Eagle. He works out of the slot. It's just a nice corner out, tracks it beautifully. The only reason this isn't any higher is because it took the Eagles basically an entire half to wake up. But this was what fans have been pining for ever since Jackson was wrongfully kicked out of Philadelphia. And the roar at Lincoln Financial Field when he reached the end zone was absolutely euphoric, and it sent tingles down the spine of every Eagles fan everywhere. Just like this next moment, it's something that still stands out to me to this day. In fact, Jordan Howard became the first running back since LaShawn McCoy all the way back in 2011, in Midnight Green at least, to score a hat-trick of touchdowns. He had one 20-yard touchdown reception to complete an 8-play, 76-yard drive, along with a 1-yard rushing touchdown and then a 2-yard rushing touchdown. That was his third of the game. It was his career high in touchdowns, and I think at that point Jordan Howard was at his height in Philadelphia. The Eagles were rolling. That win over Green Bay was so iconic, and a large part of that was because Jordan Howard just became this bowling ball who could not be denied. He was absolutely everywhere. He proved he was lethal in the receiving game as well, because Green Bay made the mistake of just assuming that if Howard's in the backfield, it's to run up the middle, and that absolutely was not the case. It was some masterful game planning from Doug Peterson, some brilliant patience in the backfield from Jordan Howard, and a moment that will go down as one of the best of 2019 in my opinion. It doesn't get the respect it deserves. It's so rare for a player to do that in an Eagles jersey at least, and it just has to be respected. Number 3 on our list takes us to the second game against Washington that year, and it's of course Greg Ward Jr.'s first NFL touchdown. This was a moment that sent Washington's own stadium into absolute limbs territory. It was an amazing eruption of emotion from Eagles fans, and who could blame them? The story of Greg Ward Jr. is one that every fan knows by now. It's one of perseverance, of dedication, and patience, of waiting for his moment in the sun. And when he finally got his opportunity in the big leagues, he did not waste any time. He went straight out, made an impact, and was a huge factor in lifting that Eagles offense to the playoffs, becoming Carson Wentz's favorite target at a depleted wide receiver position. But there was nothing more iconic than this particular catch. It just felt like it had come full circle, that Greg Ward had finally climbed the mountain and overcome that obstacle. And for an Eagles team that had so much in the way of character concerns and controversy, this was the feel-good story the team needed. The second best play of 2019 was without a doubt King Craig James's pass defense that was tipped into the hands of Nigel Bradham at the goal line, sealing an Eagles win over Green Bay. And this play came moments after Avonte Maddox was stretchered off the field with a terrifying head injury following a collision with Andrew Sandejo. Emotion was high. Rodgers is at the goal line. It is the last quarterback you want to face, and Craig James, a reserve corner, is thrown into the deep end. He knows the ball is coming his way, somehow gets his body in the way of it, and tips the ball and tips the fortune in Eagles' favour into the hands of Nigel Bradham. It was just a huge moment, again, for this team to overcome some adversity in a shootout with a dominant WR1 that had punished them all game, with Aaron Rodgers in the clutch, down at that goal line. It was just a huge play, and one that I think still to this day does not get enough credit. Was there ever going to be another option for number 1? Carson Wentz, and the most ridiculous pass I think I've ever seen him or most NFL quarterbacks make. I couldn't name you many QBs who could throw that ball into that window past 2 defenders, and no matter what angle you look at it, it still gets more impressive. There is just no way that throw should have came off. It's disgusting, it's sensual, and I adore it. Like, I could stare at this video for 10 minutes straight and not get bored. The vision, the placement, I can't. It doesn't even need analysis. It is just an unbelievable play that really demonstrates the sheer value that Carson Wentz brings to an offense. But let me know what you think of this video down below, guys. I'm sure we're going to have some agreements and some disagreements as to the top 10 moments of the year. What were your top 10 moments? Drop them down below. Let's have a chat about it. I hope you're all staying safe during this quarantine period, and once more, just a big thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this content. I know it's a stressful time right now. There's no football, of the American kind at least, and hopefully we return back to normality soon. team. But our promise to you is we'll keep grinding out content, we'll keep doing our thing to make sure you guys have as much Eagles coverage as possible. So make sure you stick around, hit that subscribe button. From myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me on Twitter at LiamJenkinsPSN. I'll see you soon.